There are 15 ordinary plant foods, some of them growing in the ditch at the end of your road right this minute, that carry more protein than the meat sitting in your freezer. Not near as much. More. Ounce for ounce, spoon for spoon, they match a steak or they beat it flat, and nobody down at the grocery store is in any hurry to tell you, because there is no money in selling a man a handful of seeds he could grow himself. So stay with me clear to the end, because the last one on this list, number 1, is a plant so thick with protein that the very people who send men into space sat down and studied it as a food for astronauts. It is more than half pure protein by its weight, better than double a cut of beef, and it grows in a puddle of still water. But I am getting ahead of myself. For 100 years now you have been told the same thing over and over till it feels like law. If you want protein, you eat meat. Real protein, strong protein, the kind that builds a body, comes off an animal, and everything green is just a side dish you push to the edge of the plate. That is the story, and I am here to tell you it is mostly wrong, and the part that is not wrong is at least badly out of date. The old mountain people I came up around did not eat steak 3 times a day. They ate beans and greens and seeds and roots, and they split rails and walked these ridges into their 80s. They knew something that got quietly buried the day meat got cheap and somebody figured out how to sell it by the ton. That wisdom did not vanish. It was pushed aside. And today we are going to dig it back up. My name is Amos, and for 60 years I have wildcrafted these hollows, ginseng and golden seal, the roots and the barks, the plants my grandmother named for me on this ridge before I was old enough to read. I am 66, the 5th generation of root diggers in my family, and I am not a doctor, so nothing I tell you today is medical advice. I am just an old root man passing on what would die with me otherwise. Stay with me to the end, because the plants at the top of this list will truly change how you look at a meal. Now, before we go any further, I have to be honest with you. Only a very small percentage of the folks who watch this channel are actually subscribed. If you love the old plants and the forgotten food our grandparents leaned on, even half as much as I do, then do consider subscribing. It is completely free, and you can always change your mind later. It genuinely helps an old man keep making these. Right, then let us get into it. Let me be honest with you before we take a single step. I am not going to stand here and tell you to throw out your meat, or that a bowl of peas will turn a frail man young again overnight. That is the kind of tall tale that sells supplements, and I have got nothing to sell you. What I am telling you is plainer, and to my mind far more useful. The plants on this list are real food, cheap food, food that fed whole nations for thousands of years before there was a pharmacy or a butcher counter in any town. So here they are, 15 of them, counted up from impressive to downright unbelievable, and whatever you do, don't wander off before number 1, because that is the one they would rather you never heard about. Number 15 is the humble green pea, that little round thing you pushed to the side of your plate as a child and never gave a second thought. Well, a single cup of green peas carries around 9 grams of protein, more than you get from a whole egg, and unlike most everything green, it hands you nearly the full set of the building blocks your body cannot make on its own. The big supplement houses have caught on. Pea powder is one of the fastest growing things they sell, and the studies put it right alongside the powder they squeeze out of milk for building muscle back after you have worked. Folks overlook the pea for one reason only: it is common, not exotic, not new, so nobody respects it. Your test tonight: put a full cup of peas on your plate as the main thing, not the afterthought, and see how long it holds you. It will surprise you. Number 14, the peanut, hiding in plain sight in every cupboard in the country. An ounce of peanuts gives you about 7 grams of protein and 2 spoons of peanut butter about 8, which by weight is more than most cuts of meat, for pennies. The big Harvard nurses study, one of the largest ever run, followed people for years and found the ones who ate a handful of nuts 5 times a week or more had noticeably less heart trouble. We laughed the peanut off as ballgame food, but the science never cared what we thought of it. Your test tonight: peanut butter on a slice of honest bread, no sugar added, and know it may be the cheapest true protein meal on this earth. Number 13, pumpkin seeds, the little green ones inside the shell you have thrown in the trash every autumn of your life. A small handful, about an ounce, carries roughly 9 grams of protein, and by weight that beats a cut of beef. It is also one of the finest plant sources of zinc and magnesium there is, the very minerals an older body runs short on and needs for sleep and for healing. The old cultures of the Americas never wasted them. They roasted them, ground them, kept them through the winter. We carved the pumpkin and pitched the best part in the bin. Your test tonight, next time, save the seeds, rinse them, roast them in a dry pan with a little salt, and eat the part you have been throwing away. Number 12, the lentil. And here is a food that quite literally built the ancient world. Lentils turn up in dugout settlements 10,000 years old, all across the old countries, and there is a reason every one of those peoples kept coming back to them. 1 cup of cooked lentils hands you around 18 grams of protein, more than 2 eggs, near the same as a serving of ground beef, for a fraction of the cost. They ask no soaking. The red ones go soft in 15 minutes. My grandmother kept a crock of them going half the year, and she buried 2 husbands and outlived nearly everyone she ever knew. Your test tonight, a pot of lentil soup, and reckon in your head what the same protein would have cost you at the meat counter. Number 11, the black bean, the protein 2 whole continents were built on. For 7,000 years, the peoples of Central and South America leaned on this bean, and a single cooked cup gives you about 15 grams of protein and 15 grams of fiber in the same mouthful. That pairing is the whole trick of it, protein to build you and fiber to hold you, so a bowl of beans keeps you full and steady long after a piece of meat has left you hungry again. We passed the bean over because it was cheap and plain, but cheap and plain is exactly what kept people alive. Your test tonight, a cup of black beans in place of the meat in one meal, and notice you are not hungry an hour later. Number 10, the chickpea, the Mediterranean's quiet secret for 7,500 years. A cup cooked gives you about 14.5 grams of protein, and no other bean bends to your will the way this one does, mashed into hummus, fried into little fritters, roasted crisp for snacking, even ground into flour for bread. The peoples who never quit eating it around that old sea are to this day among the longest lived on the whole earth. Your test tonight, a can of chickpeas drained, tossed in a little oil and salt, and roasted till they crackle, a snack that loves you back. Number 9, quinoa, the seed the Inca called the mother of all grains and held sacred, though it is not truly a grain at all. A cooked cup carries about 8 grams of protein, and here is the rare part, it is complete, all 9 of the building blocks your body cannot make for itself, a thing you almost never find in a plant. When the Spanish came, they forbade its growing, on purpose, to break a people by breaking their food. It nearly worked. But the old farmers kept it alive in secret up in the high places, and now the world is catching up to what the Inca knew. Your test tonight, cook a cup like you would rice, and lay it down as the floor under your supper instead of the empty white stuff. Number 8, hemp seed, and let me put the obvious to rest first. Yes, it is kin to that plant. No, it will not touch your head. There is nothing in the seed to do it. What the seed will do is hand you about 10 grams of complete protein in 3 little spoons, more by weight than most beef, along with the good oils and just the balance an older heart wants. Folks grew hemp for food and fiber and medicine for 10,000 years, right up until it got punished in the law books for the sins of its cousin. The confusion is long settled now, but the shame of it lingers, and a fine old food sits ignored on account of a name. Your test tonight, a spoon of hemp seeds stirred into whatever you eat of a morning, it tastes of soft nuts and nothing more. Number 7, chia seed, the running food of warriors. The old runners and messengers of the Aztec and the Maya carried little pouches of it on journeys of 100 miles because for its weight nothing carried more staying power. 2 spoons give you around 5 grams of protein and 10 of fiber, and the seed drinks up to 12 times its weight in water, so it sits in you and lets the strength out slow all day long. Now this is the part I promised you at the very beginning. We are climbing now toward the few at the very top of this list, the plants so dense with protein they do not merely match meat, they leave it standing. The one waiting at number 1 is more than half pure protein, better than double a steak, and it was studied by the very people who feed astronauts. Hold on, we are nearly there. Your test tonight. A spoon of chia in a glass of water or juice, left 10 minutes till it thickens, and drink the oldest energy drink there ever was. Number 6, amaranth, the grain a whole empire tried to wipe from the earth and could not. It mattered so much to the Aztec that the Spanish banned the growing of it outright, hoping to starve a people's spirit along with their bellies. A cooked cup gives you about 9 grams of protein, and it is rich in the very building block, lysine, that most plants run short on, which makes it a rare and valuable thing on any plate. And if an old root man showing you the plants they tried to erase is worth something to you, press that like button and subscribe, because there is a great deal more of this to come. Your test tonight, pop a spoon of dry amaranth in a hot pan like tiny popcorn and eat the grain that outlived the men who outlawed it. Number 5, And now the numbers start to climb steep. Tempeh, a firm, nutty cake made from whole soybeans left to ferment the old way in the islands of Indonesia for hundreds of years. 1 cup of it packs a staggering 31 grams of protein, more than a good-sized serving of beef, but the fermenting is the real gift. It breaks down what would otherwise block your body from taking up the minerals, and it seeds your gut with the living helpers that keep an older stomach right. Protein and digestion mended in one food. We in the West passed it by because it looks strange to us. Strange is not the same as wrong. Your test tonight, if you can lay hands on it, slice it thin, brown it in a hot pan, and taste what fermenting does that mere cooking never could. Number 4. Moringa, the leaf of what folks in the hot countries plainly call the miracle tree. Dried and powdered, those leaves run about 27 grams of protein for every 100 grams, right in the neighborhood of chicken breast, but the protein is only the start of it. Leaf for leaf, it carries more iron than spinach, more bone mineral than milk, more of the fever cure than an orange. For hundreds of years, where meat was dear and scarce, whole villages leaned on this one tree to raise their children strong. It got no notice from our side of the world for one reason only. It grew where we were not looking. Your test tonight, a spoon of moringa powder stirred into a soup or a smoothie, and know you are eating one of the richest leaves on the planet. Number 3, and now we leave the green world behind for a kingdom all its own, the fungi. Here is the part that should make you sit up. There is a protein grown from a fungus that, calorie for calorie, carries more protein than a ribeye steak, around 11 grams of protein for every 100 calories, where the beef gives you 9.5. Read that twice, and it is complete, and the trials in the serious medical journals show it builds muscle back after a man works his body just as well as the protein in milk does. The mushrooms you already know are lower in the count, but they bring gifts no meat ever will, the immune helpers, the one vitamin your skin makes from the sun. Fungi got overlooked because they are neither plant nor animal, and we never knew what shelf to set them on. Your test tonight, a good handful of mushrooms brown dark and stirred into your supper, and think on the whole strange kingdom living under the leaves. Number 2, and here the ordinary rules just break apart. Spirulina, a blue-green algae older than the trees themselves, runs somewhere between 60 and 70% pure protein by its dry weight. Beef is about 26%, chicken about 31%. This little thread of green from a still pond very nearly triples them both. 2 spoons of the powder give you 8 grams of complete protein along with iron and the antioxidants that quiet the slow fires of an aging body. And it is no new fad. The people around Lake Chad in Africa, and the Aztec long before them, scooped it from the water and dried it into cakes and lived on it for centuries. We forgot it for one silly reason. Green pond scum does not sound like supper. Your test tonight, a half spoon in a strong flavored juice, no more, and taste one of the oldest foods on earth. And now, number 1, the one I promised you at the very start, the one worth waiting for. Chlorella. Another algae, a single green cell so small you would need a microscope to find one, and yet by dry weight it runs between 50 and 60% pure protein, better than double a cut of beef, and complete every last building block your body needs, in a speck you could balance on the head of a pin. Here is the thing that ought to stop you cold. When the people who send men into space sat down to choose a food dense enough to keep a crew alive on a journey of months or years, with no room to spare and no room for waste, this algae is the one they studied. Of every food on this whole green earth, the one they weighed for the harshest place a human being can go was not a steak and not an egg. It was a pond plant you had never heard of until today. And listen to this, for it is the record that settles the whole argument. An acre of water grown thick with this algae can yield many times the protein of an acre of soybeans, and the soybean already leaves beef in the dust more than tenfold over the same patch of ground. There is nothing else on land or sea that turns plain sunlight into protein so fast. It has fed people in the East for generations, and it never caught on for the same tired reason as all the rest. Algae does not sound like food, but the truth does not care what sounds good. The truth is that the richest, most complete protein on this whole planet is not in the butcher's case at all. It is a green speck in still water, and now you know its name. Your test tonight is only this. Remember it. Now, let us pull right back and look at the whole sweep of it. 15 plants, a pea and a peanut and a bean, a seed the warriors ran on, a grain an empire tried to burn, a green speck good enough for the stars, not one of them exotic when you get down to it, not one of them new. Every single one is old. Older than the butcher counter, older than the pharmacy, older than the notion somebody sold us that strength has to come bleeding off a bone. Our grandparents ate this way not because they were wise beyond us, but because they had no other choice, and it turns out the having no choice kept them close to the truth. That is the part I want you to carry out of here with you. You are not looking at a list of diet foods. You are looking at what was very nearly taken from you, a whole way of feeding a family that fed the world for 10,000 years, put away because there was more money in the story that you needed the meat. You do not need the story. The hillside behind your house has been trying to tell you so your whole life. All you have to do is look at it with new eyes. Drop a comment below and tell me just 2 things. First, which of these 15 you have already got in your kitchen or growing wild within a mile of your door, and I suspect it will be more than you expect. And second, which one on this whole list surprised you the most? I read as many of your comments as I possibly can, and the patterns in them never cease to amaze me. Thank you for spending this time with me today. It means more than an old man can rightly say. Look after yourselves and come walk the woods with me again real soon. Because next time I am going to show you the roots they made it illegal to dig, the plants so valued, so hunted, so nearly wiped from these mountains that the law itself had to step in. And there is one growing on shady hillsides all across this country, worth more by the pound than silver, that most folks would trample right over and never know was there. Stay close to the ground. I will see you